Welcome to the Expert in You Showcase, the show where we bring you quick, powerful conversations with elite entrepreneurs and other professional business experts to share their best strategies, secrets, and tips to help you have more success in your business and life. I'm your host, Carden, and this show is brought to you by Expert in You, where we empower professional entrepreneurs, business owners, and experts to become influential figures and celebrities in their markets and add 6 to 7 figures with more ease. Discover a game-changing secret that attracts leads, qualifies them effortlessly, warms them up for your offer, and hands them over ready to say yes. We want to make closing deals for you a breeze. It's time to stop chasing clients and consistently fill your calendar with highly qualified conversations and sales opportunities every month. Increase your influence, impact, and accelerate your income and strategies that work. Book your business accelerator call with me now at acarden.com and let's map out your next step. Today, I have an amazing guest. We have been having the best conversation. Before we started recording this, I have Dennis Dowdell with me. Dennis, welcome to my show.
And what an honor to be on your show. I'm so excited what you've been doing for people and the type of information you provided. I've listened to a number of your podcasts here before we got started, and what a service you bring. And it's an honor to be on your show.
Well, thank you. It is such an honor to have you. So a little bit about Dennis and his backstory. He went from school bus driver to someone of major influence and success. He's an author, he is a speaker, an entrepreneur, and he is the founder of Maximize You. Did I say that right? Maximize You Inc.?
That's right.
Okay. And such an amazing backstory with Dennis. He talks about, I'll let him share more about this, but he talks about how he got into Herbalife many, many years ago. And he's been in it most of his professional life. But he said, I hung out with Jim Rohn for 27 years. And Jim Rohn is one of my favorite people that ever graced the planet in personal development. So that, of course, caught my attention. I said, I even quoted him in my first book. So Dennis, I know we're going to have such a great conversation. So give us just a little bit of your backstory and how you got to where you are today and what you're going to be doing today. You're kind of moving into even a little bit of a different space, and share about that.
Yes, well, when I graduated from college, and by the way, I didn't do well in college. I had a very lacking GPA when I almost passed on probation out of college, right? So I didn't do well on the courses. But what I did do well, I did well on people. And I learned more about people and people skills really than I did about courses. But when I graduated, I had this thought that, I know a lot of people, they get a career, they start a career, and then they go to another one, and they hopscotch around. And I understand that even in today's world, there's a strategy of, leveling up, so I understand that. But I'm the kind of guy that when I get started with something, I stay with it. I don't want to change around, and I want to build and develop, from where I started to where I am. And so I didn't want to hopscotch. I wanted to find a career that I loved, where I could make a difference and where I could travel. Those were my two major drives. And so rather than just get a job, I thought I'm going to take some time. And that's how I ended up driving a school bus, because I figured, well, I'll have off during the middle of the day and I can go for interviews and all these different types of things. Well, unfortunately, I got a little locked into what I was doing, and I was coming up on my 30th birthday where I thought, I need to get on with this. So I got real committed and I started looking around. I spent 7 months looking for a career that I could have those two things. And I stumbled across this little startup company called Herbalife. It was only, 3 months old. And when I went up and took a look, it was a multi-level company. And I thought, oh, no, I don't like this. I don't like sales, don't want to sell. I'm not doing sales, no thanks. But at the end of that presentation, the founder talked about the two things I wanted. He said, gang, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a difference, right? And we're customer by customer, city by city, state by state. We're going around the world. And I thought, wow. And this was a 24-year-old ninth grade dropout. And I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. He had so much passion, conviction, direction. I mean, he was talking about going around the world. We hadn't left LA yet, right?
And
And
how
so I
many
mean,
years ago was that too? That
this was
was,
in 1980.
yeah. So see, that was like not even a thing back then.
Oh
You
no.
digital, laptop lifestyle people?
No, so I mean, when he said going around the world, that meant physically going around the world. And I've done that. I mean, there was one year I literally traveled completely around the world 3 times, 2 times
Oh
east, one
my
time west.
goodness. Wow,
So I
that's
mean,
amazing.
I was in my haven. If I couldn't have written a better job description. But anyway, so that's really what it started. And as a result of that, I became, one of the 5 pillars in the company that the whole company's built under basically 5 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just happened to be one of those 5 people because I started early and I never left. I never gave up. And we went through the ups and the downs. I mean, we got attacked. I mean, there was one period in time, my income dropped 86% in 3 months. I had to rebuild, but
Mm-hmm.
the thing was, it was a cause-oriented company, and the founder and the leader of the company had a tremendous amount of passion and conviction, and it was him that drew me into the company. And so
Mm-hmm.
this idea of we attract leadership, he was the epitome of that. And then he introduced me to several other people that made a huge difference. He's the one who introduced me to Jim Rohn
Mm-hmm.
and Larry Thompson and a couple others. So anyway, it's been brilliant. And so that's what I've done. I literally, Ann, I haven't worked in 44 years. I had to work the first year to figure it out. But after
Yes.
that, it's just they pay me to do this.
So
I
what do
mean,
you do with your life if you don't work?
why?
What
well,
do you do all day?
they say work's only work if you'd rather be doing something else, and this is what I'd rather be doing.
I'm teasing, of course. I always say, yeah, if you're doing what you love to, you never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah. So anyway, it's been great, and now I'm just looking to realize that there's a lot more out there than just my
Mm-hmm.
company. And so last year, as a 74-year-old, I thought, well, I'm going to start a new career. And I said, I mean,
Mm,
listen, I mean, if Colonel Sanders can do it, and
that's
Sam
right.
Walton can do it, and all these, and I said, listen, I'm ready to go. And
Yeah,
and
I
so I
think
did. So that's
70s
why I
like
set up
the,
Maximize You, because
yeah.
I spent 44 years taking people who were going nowhere and developed them into independent entrepreneurs who created a lifestyle and a huge difference for other people. And
Mm-hmm.
so I thought, it's time I step outside my own company, with Herbalife and start doing it for others. And so I know that there's a lot more potential in people than they realize. Success isn't nearly as difficult as they think it is. And so I figured if I can build the people, then they can build whatever business they want. And so
Mm,
that's kind of the direction that I'm going in now.
mm-hmm. What is the name of your book, Dennis?
It's Maximize You, standing on the shoulder of giants. And these
Okay.
giants were the 5 mentors that invested in my life that helped me to be the person I am today.
That's amazing. So today you are really looking to step out, maybe get into sort of the corporate sector and build people. Is that your direction?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've got a lot to contribute to the corporate sector, but also just in the information industry to the general public.
Mm-hmm.
That they might just realize, the potential they have, and I think that's one of my key factors is just to help people realize the potential they have, and then to be able to create it. And it's not as difficult as people think.
Mm-hmm.
There's a handful of principles that if you'll follow, these things, they work and they work for everybody, whether you
Why don't you
understand them
share
or
some
not.
of those? Yeah, share some of those principles. I would love to hear.
Well, I mean, I think one of the key things, and what I try to do to help people understand their potential is if we're going to understand our potential, we have to understand our purpose. Who am I? What am I here for? Where am I going? What do I want to accomplish? And I think one of the key principles in purpose is to understand that our purpose is really not about me. It's contrary to the social norms. The
Mm-hmm.
social norm says, look out for number one. If it's going to be, it's up to me. And it's, taking care of yourself. And what I discovered is that if we really want to maximize our potential, that it's not about us. And nature is a great teacher for this. I mean, think about it. Rivers don't drink their own water. Okay.
Right.
Trees don't eat their own fruit. The sun
Hmm.
doesn't give heat for itself. Flowers don't create a fragrance for themselves. They take all that they have, all that they possess to create something for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And therein lies the secret to maximizing our potential, is that it's not about me. It's about taking all the talent, skills, gifts, and abilities that I have to contribute to society, to contribute to my community, to contribute to my company. And when people realize that, there's a significance to that.
Yes.
And so, and we were talking about Jim Rohn, if we're going to maximize our potential and do that, then the only way we're going to do that, Jim Rohn, his famous quote, right? For things to change, you've got to change. For things to
Right.
get better, you got to get better.
Right. You're not a tree.
Yeah.
He
Well,
said
and when
that.
I
Yeah.
first heard that, I took the notes, right? And when I go
Mm-hmm.
from seminars, I read the notes. A lot of people put them on the shelf. I actually read the notes, and
Right.
I'm reading this quote, and I think, for things to change, I got to change. Why is that? And then I began to realize things don't change. People do.
Right.
So I realized if I'm going to fulfill my purpose, I've got to become the person necessary to make that purpose, to make that dream come true. And so that's been a key principle for me. And then, in order to do that, then we've got to get our mindset on doing
Mm-hmm.
it. And
Right.
that's in any venture, whether it's a
Mm-hmm.
business venture or a personal venture, whatever type of goals that we have, I've got to get my mindset and stay focused on that. They say focus always precedes success. And I think that's
Yes.
true. So we've got to be able to get focused. So how do we stay focused? And we stay focused because we can control our thoughts. Thoughts control our mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Right.
we control our thoughts. That's a key principle
100%.
for me. And that I get to choose. And our thoughts are determined by the things that we see, the things we read, the things we hear, and the things we experience. Guess
Mm-hmm.
what? I can choose all of those. Those are all choices. So I just have to choose to read the right things, see the right things, do the right things, and experience the right things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people say, well, you just have to have positive thinking, versus negative thinking. It's not positive thinking versus negative thinking. It's right thinking is what we've got to
Right.
focus. And if we get positive perspective on right thinking, good things happen. If we have positive, thinking on the wrong things, right,
Mm-hmm.
wrong thoughts, then I'm going to come up with the wrong results. So,
Yes.
so those have been keys for me. And of course, if we're going to do that, then the key in dealing with anything is our people skills. And I love this. Jim was a master at people skills. Rick Warren was a master at people skills. And so I learned some key principles. And probably one of the best principles, two best principles on dealing with people is the idea if we want to be interesting, because in our culture today, I want to be interesting, social media, look at me, life's great, right? But the reality is, there's it's not always that way. It's not always
Right.
what we see on social media. And so if we want that attention, if we want to be interesting to other people, the key is not to try to be interesting. The key is the opposite. Be
Mm-hmm.
interested. If you become interested, you automatically are interesting to whoever you're interested in. And so, so that's key. And that's just learning to ask questions, and I think that's valuable. I mean, and this is the key. And I think this helps a lot of people. A lot of times we say, well, where are you from? Right. And,
Mm-hmm.
and, and somebody can say, Chicago. Okay.
Right.
Conversation's over. So I learned to ask open-ended questions to literally, because I really am interested. I want to know about people. And so
Right.
rather than say, where are you from? I'll just say, well, hey, well, so what brought you here?
Mm-hmm.
You never want to ask somebody a question they don't know the answer to,
Right.
right? You want to
Right.
ask people questions of something they're competent in. Guess what they know? They know
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And guess
Right.
what? There's generally a story about what brought them there. So, and they don't get to share that story much. So you ask them, what brought you here? And they get to share their story, And then you say, well, people's second best question people ask is, well, so what do you do for a living? It's the wrong question. I'm a plumber. Okay, now what?
Right. Right.
So rather than do that, rather than ask, what do you do for a living? I say, well, so what do you live to do? Well, now what that opens up their passion. And so now they get to share their passion. So by the time you've had this conversation, they think that you're a very interesting person. And the interesting thing is you haven't said much.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
I'm an introvert,
Those are
really.
great questions, by the way. Those are really good. Yes.
So anyway, so those are things that are helpful. And that will, as you develop those things, then as you begin duplicating and sharing that with others, that's where your leadership comes in. Our leadership comes in sharing our insights, which is why I wrote the book, which is why I started Maximize You Inc., is because if I can share and duplicate these ideas and other people, that's where the real success is. The success isn't what I do. The success is what all the people that I influence do. And so I don't count my success in position, possessions, or power. I count my success in people, the number of people who've been infected. Jim Rohn said all the time, he said, nothing's better than to have your name used in somebody's testimony.
So
and
true.
you and I both use his name, don't we?
Yes, yes, absolutely. No, that's so good. Hi, friend. I have an exciting announcement. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Expert in You podcast, but I have to ask you, have you checked out the latest issue of Expert in You magazine yet? It's jam-packed with rich content, powerful strategies, inspiring stories, and so much more to help you elevate your business and personal growth. Don't miss out. Go grab your digital copy now and join our community of experts making a difference every day. Go to expertinyoumagazine.com and check out your digital copy today. Transform your expertise into success with Expert in You magazine. It's not just a publication, it is a movement. So what is it you are actually going to be helping people do then? Are you helping them sort of work through the book? Are you using your book as the guide when you're working with people, or what is going to be sort of your process with your new venture?
Well, the book is basically what the book is. It's a summation of the principles that I used to develop my life. And this was all caused by my mentor, Bob Beal. He's a brilliant guy, and I was turning 70 and he said, hey, Denny, he said, what are the principles that you used? I mean, you've developed this massive organization of 250,000 people over 50 countries. What are the principles that you use to, create that kind of a business throughout your career? And I said, well, there's lots of them. He said, make a list. Make me a list. I wrote them all down, and I kind of condensed it down to about 45 that really influenced all these different areas in my life. And when I gave him the list, he said, Denny, he says, I think you have a book there. And I thought, wow, that's been on my bucket list, but I flunked English twice. I never thought I could really do it. And now I thought all I have to do is share how each of those principles work and how you can apply them. And that's all the book is. It's the 45 principles and how we applied them. And the thing is that the principles apply to everybody. They work for every country, every culture, every economy, every faith, every philosophy, because principles are constant. And so basically that's it. So my coaching and all that is just to help people understand how they can develop themselves and maximize their potential from understanding their purpose, becoming the person necessary to fulfill that purpose, get their mindset on it, right? Develop the people skills, because that always involves our contribution to others. It means I have to be able to deal with others. I have to have the people skills. And then as I duplicate that, in order to leave the legacy, I've got to create the leadership to create people who understand these things. And so that's really what it is. That's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and just watch how that develops in them. And ultimately, in the next 10 years, I'd like to have a dozen people, being able to take these principles that I have and carry this on. And that's what my online training course is going to be about. I'm just in the process of finishing that up.
Very good. I love it. When you were building your multi-level marketing, how were you getting people interested and what was your process? What was your system?
Well, it's very interesting because, you know, I'm a Christian, and so my number one mentor was Jesus, and I looked at the life of Jesus, just historically speaking. You got a guy who took 12 basically everyday kind of people. I mean, a lot of people who weren't necessarily the elite in society. He took 12 people and he transformed the world. I mean, today there's going to be, they're estimating about 2.7 billion Christians, and it was one man who trained 12. And when he left, he said, listen, guys, here's what I want you to do. He says, I want you to go out and make disciples, okay, in Jerusalem, Samaria, and the outermost parts of the world. And so I thought, well, in multi-level, that's all I've got to do. I've just got to make disciples. In other words, make disciples, make learners. Disciple comes from the word to learn. And so I've got to make learners, people who can learn how to make a difference for other people. Paul, when he was talking with Timothy, he said, go teach the things that I taught you, right? You teach others. So what? So they can teach others also. And I thought, that's it. And so that was my strategy. My strategy was the process of discipleship that Jesus embedded into his, the 12 apostles. And it worked. I mean, that's how I've got 250,000 people, and so it just was been very, very powerful, very effective. And the idea there, of course, is it's always thinking about the needs of other people. See, the reason you don't have to sell anything or try to convince anything, all you have to do is help people solve a problem they have up to this point in time not been able to solve. And if we can provide some answers, then everybody wins.
Awesome. I love it. I love what you're doing. This has been a fantastic conversation. One great takeaway before we wrap it up.
Well, I think the real takeaway is just my primary principle. Every principle is founded on this one principle, and that's the principle of that it's not about you. Take all the talent, skills, and gifts and abilities that you have and develop those strengths, develop those gifts so that you can contribute to other people. And when you do that, I mean, that's the way you can serve the many. Zig Ziglar said, well, if you help enough people get what they want, you get everything that you want.
So
I like to say, he who serves the many earns the money and the reputation.
Yes,
so
I love that.
That's the key. Take who you are, invest it in other people so that it can change their lives. That's the key principle for life.
That is perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. We're going to put all of your links in the show notes. Go grab his book. I am going to go grab his book. And he is just so much wisdom, just a treasure trove of knowledge and experience. And he has been around the best, to me, the best that there have ever been. So I can't thank you enough, Dennis, for being on here with me and sharing your expertise. And it has been such a pleasure to get to know you and have you as part of this showcase.
Well, thanks so much for having me. What an honor and what a joy just to be able to have an opportunity to share with your audience who is obviously interested in growth and in making a difference for themselves and other people. So what a great audience to be able to share with. Thank you.
Well, thank you. All right, everyone, as we wrap it up, I want to thank you for tuning into Expert in You Showcase. Thank you again and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
If you are ready to attract high-paying clients like clockwork, build powerful influence and scale your business with ease, let's talk. Book a complimentary $1 Million Accelerator strategy call at acarden.com to discover how the Expert in You method can help you create a steady stream of premium clients and consistent revenue growth. Don't wait. Your next big breakthrough starts with a simple conversation. Visit acarden.com and let's make it happen. Have an amazing day and God bless you.